Hey everybody, what's up? It's Golden Lady Shy coming at you with part 2 of beginning to work with spirits. So yesterday on the video that I put up, I started talking a little bit about how you can begin working with your ancestors and finding out who your spirit guides are. So this is part 2 of that, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about ways that you can work with your spirit guides and your spirits. So one of the important things that you can do is if you have room, and like I said always, you don't need a lot of room, you don't need a lot of things, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but one of the important things that you can do is kind of put up a little altar for that spirit. And first and foremost, you need to learn, educate yourself. And we're blessed that we have the internet, so you can always look up on the internet. You can go to the library. There's a book that was a really helpful resource to me called Encyclopedia of Spirits, and in that book they basically go through a lot of different spirits. They leave out a lot, but it is pretty comprehensive guidebook talking about a lot of different spirits. It talks about, okay, so basically just how all people are different, all spirits are different. So a spirit might have a different way of working with you. It might like different offerings. It might speak to you in a different way than another one would. So it's really important that once you find the spirits that you want to work with, aside from your ancestors, which we spoke about, that you educate yourself and find out what the spirit prefers. So certain spirits have certain days that, depending on the planets, the way that the planets are lined up, and a lot of other things, that's like the ideal day that you can petition them, or that you can leave an offering for them. But in reality, you can do it every day. Okay, so once you figure out the spirits that you want to work with that are alongside you, figure out what they prefer, their likes, their dislikes. Do they like rum? Do they like chocolates? Do they like candies? And then make a small altar or a space for them. Like I said, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. And it's another important thing, once you begin working with spirits, to understand not to put the altar together in the room where there's other ones. So it's not good to mix them. It's good if you can have them in separate rooms, because if you mix them, there are spirits who will work together. So once again, it's about educating yourself. But for the most part, if you're mixing them, then that can be might not be great, because it's like you're mixing that energy as well, so you can put a small space for them. And what you put there, normally what people always put a light, and we're always giving our spirits light and clarity. So always put like a candle, and you can learn which color they prefer. But if you're in doubt, if you don't know which color that candle that your spirit would prefer, you can always choose white, and that's always a safe bet to go with. Okay, so once you have that down, you can put a glass of water, and then try to have an image of the santo or the spirit or whoever that you are working with. And that can be printed from the internet. It could be a prayer card. Like I said, that's not necessary. It's not necessary to go out and buy an expensive statue, because those statues are expensive. But if you can get an image, then that's more than enough to begin. Okay, so once you begin with that, you're just gonna go set up your small altar, and you've learned what that spirit prefers, and you might just meditate there. So just focus on a door opening, on being able to build a relationship and communicate with that spirit, and introduce yourself at first. Treat it just like you would a professional or a friendly relationship. You would never go up to somebody and just because you knew their name, just approach them and say, hey, you know, give me this. Another human being wouldn't appreciate being treated like that. And in the same way, neither do spirits. Spirits don't appreciate being treated like that. So what you would want to do is introduce yourself with respect. Let them know your intention, that you intend on building a relationship, that you feel drawn to them. You want to know what message they have for you. And then you can leave an offering for them. So once again, depending on what they prefer. And another note, something early on that I learned from my mentors was that it's good to leave an offering, you know, water, candles. You can blow tobacco smoke on the altar because tobacco has activating properties, very powerful. But it's important to remember not to get carried away and so much with offerings. You can always celebrate and thank your spirits when they have helped you, or, you know, I like to set it out for my spirits like once a week. But just be very careful that you're not like giving too much as far as like material, because that can have kind of negative consequences, so to speak, in the sense that you're kind of like, you're almost materializing that relationship a little bit. So basically that's more than enough if you leave a small offering, you know, once a week. And like I said, it can be, you know, a drink, candies, tobacco, flowers, but always usually definitely a glass of water and a candle. Okay, and so once you start meditating, once you go before the altar, and that this becomes a daily practice, what I would recommend daily, you'll start to see that relationship cultivate, and you will start to see just a lot of things start to come together in your life. So if you feel that, you know, you need to start paying attention, looking to see when the spirit is manifesting in your life. Are they coming and speaking to you through dreams? So once you see that, and even if you don't feel anything at first, even if you feel that, you know, it's kind of different for you to just be standing there talking by yourself, you're not alone. They are there. And I heard a quote somewhere, and I hate quoting without knowing the author, but they said, once you've called on a spirit, that spirit has been with you always. So it's kind of a strange quote, but if you can wrap your mind around it, once you call on them, they hear you, they're there. Now what happens after that, that depends on the relationship that you cultivate with them. And if you can't feel anything at first, it's just because you're still in the process of developing your senses. But that does not mean that they didn't hear you, and it doesn't mean that they weren't present. So trust in that, have faith, and make that contact, build that relationship with your spirits on a daily basis. And once you start to build up that relationship, that's when you can start, and you can come to them and make a petition. You know, let them know, hey, I need this assistance. And you will see, you will be shocked in the ways that your spirits will come through. I mean, I need to make a whole video about my testimonies, about different ways that, you know, success stories of working with spirits. But once you make a specific request and you see that it actually comes to fruition, and that happens more than once, you really realize that they are walking with you. And all that time that you spend in front of your altar and all of that you spend cultivating that relationship, that it's wonderful, that they really are providing you with protection and guidance. Okay, so that concludes this video, Working with Spirits Part 2. So I hope you guys got a good understanding, at least the basics of when you're ready to work with spirits. So main points: educate yourself, Find out what your spirits prefer. Build an altar for them away from any other altars. Spend time there daily if possible. Give small offerings, not too many. And keep doing that. Keep cultivating that. Keep listening. Develop your spiritual senses, so to speak, and see what happens. And like I said, always document it, okay? So that was the end of this video. If you have any other questions, please put it in the comments below, and visit tarotsolutions.etsy.com for a reading or a handmade candle. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful day. Ashe.